This video is brought to you by Surfshark. The driver who's been almost completely forgotten in Formula 1 is Esteban Ocon. Over the past season and a half, everyone has been talking about his teammate Fernando Alonso, everyone has been talking about his team Alpine, everyone has been talking about the guy who should have been his teammate Oscar Piastri, and now everyone is talking about the guy who might still be his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Ocon has already been on the F1 podium, he is also a Grand Prix winner, and now in 2022 is having the absolutely no one is talking about him. I've never considered Ocon to be a massive personality on the grid. He doesn't have an entire country behind him like Max. He doesn't have this long, successful F1 career that in itself generates a massive online fan base, despite not really being on social media like Seb, and out of the new generation of drivers, he also doesn't have this massive following off the back of being very active on social media like Lando. Now, none of that is a bad thing. There's no need to fake having this larger-than-life personality on social media if all you're really interested is in just being an F1 driver and racing. But it's this calm demeanor and understated personality that he has that I think is a huge part of why he isn't talked about as much online or even in F1 in general. However, whilst his character and off-track personality might make him one of the quiet drivers on the grid, his driving and personality on track couldn't be further from that. Esteban Ocon, as we all know, is no stranger to getting his elbows out, fighting hard and sometimes over the limit with anyone and everyone, even if they are his teammate. His frosty relationship with teammate Sergio Perez in just 2 seasons together was characterized by more than a few on-track incidents. A team orders dispute in Canada 2017, an aggressive start with the two colliding in Hungary, and then 3 separate high-profile crashes in Baku 2017, Spa 2017, and Singapore 2018. Not one for wanting to make drivers that aren't his teammate feel left out. His infamous Brazil 2018 collision with Max, colliding with him whilst he was in the lead of the race despite being a backmarker, is still one of the most iconic incidents, with the aftermath just adding to the already dramatic crash and long history of tension between the two drivers. And this isn't even a thing of the past. With the momentum and noise around Alonso getting louder, the two have also had their moments. Touching at Zandvoort in 2021, an aggressive defense in Hungary, and a tense battle in Saudi Arabia that always felt like it was more than just about who finished ahead, but psychologically, who was the alpha at the team. Fighting tooth and nail, regardless of who's in the other car, I think is hardwired into Esteban Ocon, and there's a very good reason that's linked to his past as to why he feels like he needs to fight, like his life's on the line. Before we get to that, however, the one thing that Ocon will never have to fight for is his security online if he gets Surfshark, who are the sponsor of today's video. Surfshark is a virtual private network that allows you to be fully protected on the internet by changing your internet IP and hiding your location. There are countless benefits that Surfshark provide, like protecting your data, blocking ads whilst you're browsing, and also allowing you to access content that might not be available in your country. So for example, during F1 preseason testing, I was out in Bahrain, and whilst I was out there, I wanted to catch up with all of the Premier League games on the Sky Sports channel. But because they don't have the broadcast rights to show the highlights outside of the UK, those videos just weren't there. No problem, however, because with Surfshark, in only a few clicks you can connect to a server in the UK, refresh the page, and now I can watch all of the videos that weren't available. That's just one of many benefits, and by using my promo code ALDAS, or by clicking the link at the very top of the description, you can save 83% off and get an extra 3 months for free as well. On top of that, Surfshark also has a 30-day money-back guarantee if you decide to change your mind. It's a great deal, so make sure to check them out if you're curious, and thank you again to Surfshark. Esteban Ocon is truly one of the last F1 drivers to actually come from a middle-class background, and whilst some people might think that it's irrelevant, the struggles that a person goes through shapes them mentally into the person that they are. The truth is that especially now more than ever, most of the young drivers that are coming through either have parents that have endless amounts of money, like Lando, Lance, and Nicholas, or their families are already embedded into motorsport with parents that have either raced or are ex-F1 drivers, and so purely through that, they're in a much more privileged position to begin with in terms of the people that they know and the doors that are open to them. The likes of Max, Carlos, and Charles fit into that. Now, there is absolutely nothing that's inherently wrong with these drivers, because money can only get you so far, and performance is the ultimate judge. But as much as we can all call these drivers relatable, the truth is that they are so far from relatable in terms of how they grew up, it's difficult to actually comprehend. Esteban is a very rare case in terms of where he and his family came from and what they had to sacrifice. If you want to know more, I'd highly recommend listening to his original Beyond the Grid interview back in 2018, which I'll link below to really understand what his family had to do. The point is that even from the junior categories, Ocon knew that he had to perform, even when he was part of the Renault and then Mercedes Driver Academy, because the funding for next season was only going to be earned from what he achieved there and then. It's that sink or swim mentality that I believe he still carries to this day, and that I believe defines that aggression. Whether you like it or hate it, Ocon will always have that edge and that needle in his driving. Now, to only describe him as an aggressive driver would be massively underplaying his abilities. I think his biggest strength is that he's both a great qualifier, and despite the incidents that he's had, in race situations he's actually quite a clean driver in terms of random unforced errors. Where he lacks, in my opinion, sometimes is that ultimate ability in the races to balance tyre preservation and outright pace. But what he lacks in those areas, he more than makes up for with his consistency, especially since the beginning of 2021. When he returned in 2020 alongside Ricciardo, it was a little bit underwhelming. Despite the highs of getting his first ever podium in Sakir, he came up against a Ricciardo who, in my opinion, had his greatest ever season, and that was to the detriment of Ocon. However, since then, Ocon has been a different driver. Mentally, I think he was bruised after that Ricciardo season, but like all great drivers, he went up a level. The recent spikiness on track has always been there between Ocon and Alonso because they have been so close in terms of performance. Alpine the past 2 seasons have easily had one of the best driver lineups, and in 2021, that was on full display because whilst the AlphaTauri was absolutely the better car, it was the combination of Ocon and Alonso that allowed Alpine to finish ahead. Of course, the biggest win for Ocon in 2021 wasn't even his actual first Grand Prix win, it was the long-term contract that Alpine gave him, which will see him at the team until 2024. That contract, and also the incredible season that Ocon is currently having in 2022, is quietly at the heart of what's been a messy driver contract debacle for Alpine. So much of the noise at Alpine has been about Fernando Alonso and how his points and championship standing doesn't truly reflect the level that he's been performing at. What this narrative has done, and what I've noticed online, is that there's this resentment whenever each of these drivers is doing better than the other. Whenever Alonso has driven better but had more bad luck, it's used to diminish the season Ocon is having, and in contrast, Ocon's position in the championship ahead of Alonso as of recording is also used as this definitive answer that Ocon is actually better than Alonso. To me, it's more of a biased argument that is going on between the fan bases of each driver, rather than a true reflection of what's actually going on. It's a very similar situation to what Mercedes are currently going through with Hamilton and Russell. As of recording and after 15 races, Esteban has scored points 12 times, with one of his 3 non-point scores being a reliability-related DNF in Silverstone. Whenever something's gone wrong for Fernando, Esteban has always been there to capitalize. And that's not something that should be used to discredit Esteban. On the contrary, that is exactly what you get from two consistent drivers who are performing at such a similarly high level. People might be correctly shouting about Alonso because of the speed that he's shown and the bad luck that he's had, but using that to marginalize Ocon's season is factually wrong. Despite Alonso being behind Ocon in the championship, I still think he'll finish ahead by the end of the season. But it's the noise around Alonso, the noise around Alpine and the Piastri situation that has made Ocon the forgotten man. What's interesting now, however, is that with Fernando Alonso pushed out of the team by Alpine, and for it to still not be clear who Ocon's teammate will be, 2023 will present Ocon's first big opportunity to show that he can finally seize the moment and take charge of Alpine as their number one when Alonso leaving will create that vacuum. The interesting stat around Esteban Ocon is that in his 5 full seasons in F1, he's actually never beaten a teammate in the championship. But don't get it twisted, that is a reflection of the high caliber of teammates that he's had to go up against, and not his lack of ability. In 2023, regardless of who his teammate will be, Ocon is going to be pushed into that team leader role through necessity. That's when we'll see what the new Esteban Ocon can do with the whole team around him, and that is when we're going to see what the forgotten man in Formula 1 can do when the spotlight is truly on him. Well, there you have it, another video in the bag. Once again, a big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to use my code ALDAS or check out the link at the very top of the description to get 83% off and an extra 3 months for free as well. And once again, a big thank you to Surfshark. If you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to give it a like and also subscribe to the channel. That would be massively appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one.